From maggots to sinking steel, the ultimate spiritual SOP.
Welcome to this brand new deep dive analysis. Today, we're embarking on a very special journey. To be completely honest, when it comes to Eastern philosophy or Buddhist terminology, many people's first impression is, oh my goodness, the text is so dense and it's just too profound, right? But today is different. We are going to decode this ancient wisdom together through the most authentic, unpolished, and arguably most down-to-earth and ingenious metaphors of a Buddhist master. We will take you straight to the core of cultivation. So, are you ready to transform these seemingly distant pieces of wisdom into a practical guide for our modern lives? Great! Let's dive right into the heart of the matter. Today's analysis mainly covers 4 stages. Part 1, the 5 roots, the standard SOP. Part 2, the 7 factors of awakening, built upon Bodhi. Part 3, the Noble Eightfold Path, a tree of life. Part 4, Shamatha and Vipassana, representing ceasing and knowing reality as it is. These 4 stages precisely map out how we can move step by step from a state of inner friction to a smooth, flowing state of life. Part 1, the 5 roots, the standard SOP. Let's begin with the first stage of cultivation, the 5 roots, our standard SOP. In the source material we are referencing, a disciple raised the confusion common among beginners. He asked whether foundational principles like faith and diligence have a strict chronological order. Does it mean you only need a tiny bit of faith at the very beginning, and you absolutely must wait until the second stage to start being diligent? To shatter this myth in a single second, the master used a super relatable, everyday metaphor, learning to drive. This perfect illustrates how these concepts layer upon one another in reality. Faith. First, you must believe that driving is definitely less exhausting than walking, and you want that benefit, right? Diligence. Because you believe it, you naturally move to the second step. You actively enroll in driving school, learn the traffic rules, and practice how to operate the vehicle. Mindfulness. You put it into practice, firmly committing those rules to memory. Concentration. Eventually, when you know every operation inside out and hit the road, you will absolutely not step on the gas pedal thinking it's the brake, even during an emergency. That is concentration and stability. Wisdom. With this stability, you can drive freely and effortlessly. So, as you can see, these steps are fundamentally inseparable. They are closely interconnected and naturally progress from one to the next. The master's insights here are incredibly profound. He condensed thousands of years of ancient Buddhist wisdom into a term we use every single day in the modern workplace, SOP. The meaning is crystal clear, as long as you honestly follow this SOP step by step. When the power of these 5 roots grows large and robust enough in your heart, you will attain what is known as the eradication of all resentments, such that nothing can destroy you. To put it in plain English, when your internal foundational system becomes stable to a certain degree, the messy defilements, grievances, and chaos of the world simply cannot affect you. They will be completely unable to breach your inner line of defense. Part 2, the 7 factors of awakening built upon Bodhi. Now that we understand the foundational SOP, let's move into Part 2, the 7 factors of awakening, which must be built upon Bodhi. At this point in the source material, an interesting twist occurs in the conversation. A disciple began to complain, feeling that Mahayana Buddhism requires worrying about this and that, with way too many details, making it incredibly troublesome. He felt it would be much easier to stick to Theravada Buddhism and just mind one's own business. Facing the student's fear of hardships and slightly lazy mindset, the master didn't hold back. He countered directly. You think it's troublesome? Then do you think eating is troublesome? You have to go out and buy groceries. When you bring them back, you have to wash and cook them. Once cooked, you have to chew them bite by bite. And after swallowing, you still have to digest them. How troublesome is that? If you just don't eat at all, wouldn't that solve the trouble? This retort struck right at the heart of the matter, tearing the student's excuse to shreds. In reality, when we feel cultivation is troublesome, to put it bluntly, it is simply because it pokes at our inner greed for comfort and our lazy reluctance to change. After ruthlessly exposing this laziness, the master went on to point out the 7 factors of awakening. These 7 components, such as the discrimination of Dharma, diligence, joy, and tranquility, all share a major prerequisite, the word Boji. What is Boji? It is awakening. It means that all your choices, and even your joy, must be built upon the awakening of truly seeing through the nature of things. Think about it. If you don't truly understand what a person or a thing can actually bring you, if you haven't figured out W, whether it ultimately brings suffering or happiness, then your self-proclaimed joy or affection is completely misplaced. To make sure you remember this point forever, the master used a very intense, even brutally humorous metaphor. He said that if you do not have true awakening, your so-called joy is no different from the joy of maggots in the toilet. Because they lack Boji and awareness, they absolutely love that filthy environment and think it is paradise. To be honest, when we ordinary people blindly pursue worldly attachments and desires without awakening, our state is pretty much the same as theirs. Conversely, true Dharma joy is incredibly pure. It is built upon the clear awakening of seeing through defilements and knowing definitively that you are walking toward liberation. There is a world of difference between the two. Next, the disciple started overthinking again. He kept trying to use his intellectual logic to grasp what tranquility in the 7 factors of awakening actually feels like. He even pressed the master, asking how one is supposed to display tranquility while handling complex daily chores. In response to these persistent attempts to analyze spiritual states with the intellect, the master tossed out a deeply thought-provoking rhetorical question. How would you explain the colors red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet to a person born blind? The answer is you can't. Because certain spiritual realms absolutely cannot be explained by words alone, you must experience them firsthand to understand. You cannot possibly carry a mind full of turbidity, beginningless karmic defilements, and expect your brain to tell you what sacred tranquility feels like. The master emphasized that if you want to experience it, you must first put in the hard work. Step 1. You must cleanse your 6 sense organs: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Step 2. You must thoroughly cure the eye disease caused by your karmic habits and defilements. Only when you clear away the heavy baggage brought by endless cycles of rebirths and step forward into the realm of meditative concentration will you naturally see those colors with your own eyes. At that moment, you will personally taste that comfort and ultimate freedom, where you are unburned by fire and undrowned by water. At this level, the purity of your emotions and mindset determines everything. Let's take Yukek as an example. The master specifically pointed out, suppose you do a great deed today that could have brought you 10 points of merit. However, while doing it, your mind secretly harbors a tiny bit of worldly greed or a speck of reluctant annoyance. Do you know what happens? That merit will instantly shrink drastically, perhaps leaving you with only 100 points. That's a massive loss, right? But conversely, if you give with absolute great compassion and a pure state of Dharma joy, even a tiny offering can magnify those original 0 points into something as vast as 10,000 Mount Meres. Therefore, always remember, your mental state is deciding your ultimate outcome every single second. Part 3. The Noble Eightfold Path, a Tree of Life. Now that we understand how crucial the purity of our inner awakening is, let's enter Part 3, the Noble Eightfold Path. Here, we look at cultivation as a tree of life. This is a comprehensive system of living and practice. Entering this stage means we officially shift from purely building an inner mindset to concrete daily practice. The concept of this tree beautifully illustrates how the entire system of cultivation is organically connected. Look at it this way: everything, without exception, grows from the exact same root. That root is called right view, the correct understanding. Without this root, you cannot grow the trunk known as right thought, let alone the branches and leaves of correct speech and action further down the line. When this tree absorbs the correct nutrients and grows wholesomely, it blossoms into the flowers of right concentration and ultimately bears the perfect fruit. This fruit is your ability and wisdom to perfectly handle all worldly matters. In short, everything depends on this root to exist. Without the root, there is nothing. Part 4. Shamatha and Vipassana, ceasing and knowing reality as it is. Finally, we arrive at the fourth and final part, Shamatha and Vipassana, which can be considered the ultimate tools of cultivation. Speaking of Shamatha and Vipassana, the master shared a highly relatable personal experience. He mentioned that in his early years, when he read the incredibly profound Tiantai text Mahashamatha Vipassana, his head spun too. He had to flip through a thick, old dictionary to look up characters one by one. He specifically used this experience of hardship to remind us modern people, today, our resources are incredibly abundant, but we must be careful not to drown ourselves within our own blessings. What does it mean to be drowned? The master painted a powerful and striking image. If a person holds on tight to their defilements and arrogance, refusing to let go of their inner greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt, they are just like a rigid, unyielding piece of steel. When this proud, stubborn steel plate is thrown into the vast ocean of Buddhist wisdom, it is physically impossible for it to float. It will only sink straight to the bottom, where it will slowly be corroded away by the sea. The water of the true Dharma is meant to make you free. But if you insist on jumping in wearing heavy, rusted armor, even the best Dharma water cannot save you. This vivid image brings out the true meaning of shamatha. Shamatha is absolutely not about using willpower to forcefully suppress something. Rather, it is ceasing as body, stopping all useless defilements, allowing that frantic, outwardly grasping, and calculating mind to truly rest. Only when you can truly rest, which is achieving shamatha, can you know reality as it truly is. This is Vipassana. As we bring this analysis to a close, I want to leave you with a question to ponder. In this vast ocean of the Dharma water of life, are you currently a piece of steel that is constantly sinking, desperately fighting against the water? Or are you ready to shed that heavy armor, let your restless mind rest, and truly experience the beauty and lightness of life? I hope our authentic discussion today has brought you some fresh inspiration.